So we're going to be looking at a few suttas today. We're going to be talking about mindfulness of breathing, and I will do a guided meditation at the top of the hour here for mindfulness of breathing. And it is not the way you think it's taught elsewhere. It is a different process. And we're going to go to the suttas to find out what that is. And I will say that Bhante really felt that metta and loving kindness was the fastest way in, fastest way to Nibbana. There's videos on that, and I agree. Why? Because metta is a pleasant feeling. It's fun to do metta because you feel happiness for all beings, and this makes the mind uplifted. And it's a feeling meditation, and it gets you out of your body. And breathing is in the body, and there isn't the flavor of the metta. It is only that you attain the jhanas, just like you do in metta, but it is not the same as the metta because the metta colors the jhanas in a very happy sort of way. And the metta creates, it takes you automatically, the Brahma Viharas take you automatically through all the jhanas. Whereas the breathing,
Maybe.
you're just sticking with the breath. And the breath is your object. You never change it. Now, it doesn't stop. It continues. It just kind of disappears from your awareness. You know that it's there, but it gets very, very subtle, very quiet. But nonetheless, it is always there. And there are some things where they say in the fourth jhana, your breathing stops. And in the TWIM method, that is certainly not the case. That may be the case in absorption jhana. And I don't know. I've never heard of that actually happening. Maybe other people have, but we don't see that happening with jhanas in TWIM. Let's see. It looks like we got everybody here. All right, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody. I am David Johnson. I am coming to you from Dhamma Sukha in near St. Louis, where many of you have been, and we just get better and better. We have, in any case, we're doing well out here. Spring has sprung. The rain is here. The flowers are blooming like crazy. And a lot of storms this time of year, a lot of rain. Every now and then we get tornado watches and that sort of thing, but nothing really happens around here. But it does happen in the Midwest. This is the tornado alley. But after a little while, it'll just get warm and the sun won't be out most of the time. All good here. Our retreats are nearly all full except for the last one. It's got a few more spaces left. I encourage people to sign up for a TWIM retreat. It's a real opportunity to experience this meditation, go through the jhanas, and attain Nibbana. Why not? This is your lifetime to do it. If you think about it, the human world is the place to do it. There is a little bit of suffering. There's a little bit of pleasure. It's not too much of either one. In the heavenly worlds, of course, this all assumes you're believing in that there is lives to come. If you're not believing in lives to come, the question is maybe it's not necessary to do the practice because you just die at the end. But for me, I don't know. So I'm going to be prepared. So when the gates, the pearly gates open up and say hello, if they do open up and I'm there, I'm going to be ready. I have done the 5 precepts. I've done my jhanas. I've done it all. I am ready. But if they don't open up, if it's all black, well, I did what I did, and the meditation helps you in this lifetime. It makes you very happy. And you lead a very balanced life. So it doesn't even matter about the next lifetimes. But getting back to the fact that meditating in this lifetime is very, very good because most of you have good situations. You're not in a ghetto, you're not sick, you don't have cancer, you are in good health, you are okay, wait a minute. That you're in good shape, and so you can meditate. In a heavenly world, think about it. You're supposed in a heavenly world, there's only pleasure. There is no pain in the heavens. There's only pleasure. And in the hellish or lower realms, there's only pain. There's actually not even one moment of happiness. This is what it says. So how can you meditate in that kind of uh, time or place? So you have to be in the human realm to do the meditation. So anyway, we're open. Come on down. Now, speaking of being open, I want to show you what we're working on. This has been kind of a desire of mine for 3 or 4 years now, is to have a study center, place where people could come and do classes in the Dhamma, Sutta classes, not necessarily retreats. Yeah, you can do some meditation. We're going to have a big, large room. But let me just show you what we've done. We've done the initial foundation on this, and I'm going to go ahead and play a little video clip of all right, hopefully everybody can see this. Hello, everyone. This is David Johnson. I'm at the Dhamma Sukha Meditation Center, and I have an exciting announcement. We are building a study center, and that is over across from the Dhamma Hall. We have just laid the foundation, and what we're going to be having here is you are looking at the yoga and training room area, which is this back half here. It's facing over toward the pond area and the stupa that is in the background there with Bhante's ashes that we did last year. And this part is the larger presentation room. There will be 3 offices down on this side. There will be a library area where you can sit down and read some suttas. In the back, there will be a kind of a boardroom, a conference room, and that does it. So we've got training. We can do sutta study. We can do presentations. We can do yoga. We can do more meditation. There will be offices for the admin of Dhamma Sukha and a library. And I'm hoping it'll be a Barnes & Noble, sit down, have some coffee, and read a sutta. So that's what we've got going for this year, hoping to finish it by the end of the summer. We have a guy that's very reliable, and he's been working on this just only for a month now, and this is what we've got. We will ask you if you can help to support us on this new building and help us put something into the future that can be used for many years to come. Here's some of the pictures here that we took while this was happening. That's one high crane.
C'est un chantier.
There's some flowers. There you go. So did everybody see that okay? Yes? Yeah. Okay, great. Hope everybody can support this and in the future come out to do some classes there. The room is going to be big enough for yoga. It'll be a presentation room with screens, and then there will be offices. And the area, there will be a library area where hopefully you can sit down. We we have been contacted by Starbucks, and they want to be in there. No, no Starbucks. Maybe in the future, but no, not yet. Okay. So the 11 benefits of loving kindness. At the retreat, people had not heard of the benefits of loving kindness. They just thought it was just something you use for your practice. But in fact, by practicing loving kindness, attaining the jhanas is certainly a benefit. So this is from the Anguttara Nikaya. Monks, for one whose liberation through loving kindness is cultivated, developed, pursued, handed the reins, and taken as a basis, given a grounding, steadied, consolidated, and well undertaken, 11 benefits can be expected. Which 11? Because when the liberation of mind by loving kindness is cultivated, developed, much practiced, made a vehicle and foundation established, consolidated, and properly undertaken, these 11 benefits are to be expected. What 11? One sleeps well, wakes easily. You don't get up all groggy. You just step out of bed. You don't feel this negativity to the world. You don't think, oh no, I have to go to work. It's just you wake up. Yeah, and for a few moments there, you're a little bit like, oh, okay, I'm getting up. But there's not very much time of grogginess. It's just you're awake and you get up out of bed and just go about your business. You dream no evil dreams. You are dear to human beings. You're dear to non-human beings. Deities protect one. Fire, poison, and weapons do not injure one. One's mind gains concentration quickly. Now, we don't know about whether deities protect us, whether we're dear to non-human beings. These are things that they're benefits, but we just take it on faith. And especially weapons do not injure one. As Bhante said, probably you don't want to test this one with poison or guns or fire or poisons. Just take it on faith that you'll be okay. But realize when it says the liberation of mind by loving kindness, it actually means successfully liberating the liberation of loving kindness. I mean, you really actually are performing it well. You get into the jhanas easily, and it is a successful practice. It's not just bringing up a few thoughts of loving kindness, and you're going to get all these benefits. It takes a while to cultivate it, to eliminate, and eventually, as you use loving kindness, you will eliminate all the fetters. And so all of the hatred, the sensual desire, all these things will disappear. And that's the true liberation of loving kindness, is it can take you all the way to the no hatred and no sensual desire, which is anagami. And that's the real liberation of loving kindness. And of course, all these things will be a benefit because your mind is not free or it's not full of these hindrances. Of course, your mind is not going to be groggy or tired or hateful or aversive or anything else. The expression of one's face is serene. Back here, one's mind gains concentration quickly. And of course, this is the reason that we do loving kindness, is one's mind gains concentration quickly, or collectedness, as we like to say. It is the gateway. Some people try to bring up compassion or sympathetic joy or upekkha, but the advice that we always give is just go to metta. And if you're meditating, the metta will take you all the way through those other Brahma Viharas. But the metta is powerful. It is the strongest one of these things. And it is the door that gets you into the practice. All right, as we continue, the expression of one's face is serene. one dies unconfused. And if one penetrates no higher, one will be reborn in the Brahma world. So that you will be reborn in the jhana realms. So whatever highest jhana that you have attained. These are the 11 benefits that can be expected for one whose awareness release through goodwill is cultivated, developed, pursued, handed the reins, and taken as a basis, given a grounding, steadied, consolidated, and well undertaken. So we follow the 5 precepts, and this is really the basis of the practice. We need to really follow these 5 precepts as the least thing that we can do in our life is keep those precepts. So what are the advantages and benefits? Well, there's a lot of them. The merit of upholding the precepts depends on the degree of purity of our practice. The Buddha enumerated 5 advantages of precepts. Conservation of wealth. A man who does not uphold precepts would very likely squander away his wealth through frequenting nightclubs and brothels and gambling and drinking, etc., which a moral man would not indulge in. So your wealth, you don't go out and blow all your money on all kinds of sensual pleasures and things that are not so great. And as a result of that, your reputation is good. A moral man who does not kill, steal, commit adultery, lie, or drink would obviously be highly regarded by others. You can dare to face assemblies. A moral man has no cause for shame or guilt and would have no fear when called upon to face or address assemblies. You don't have any remorse or guilt. You can get up on the podium, and you've done nothing that makes you afraid of speaking. It's just, you feel happy, content. Everybody is your friend. There are no enemies. So you can speak to everyone as though you're just speaking to one person. When you die clear-minded. As death approaches, a moral man is unafraid because the thought of his purity gives him great confidence and joy. Many people, however, die with great fear and terror for having lived an immoral life, especially those who broke any of the precepts in severe degree. That is, a butcher, for example. Excuse me for a second here. Yeah. Your rebirth is good. A person who has upheld the precepts would have lived a harmless life and would be destined for good rebirth. The Buddha said that a man who has unwavering faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha is virtuous, controlled in the precepts, may declare with certainty that he was one to the stream, bound for enlightenment. He will never fall into the woeful plains of rebirth again, the ghost, animal, and hell realms. So lots of benefits to the precepts. I think we all know that. Now, this is an interesting sutta. This is what craving causes. Craving is the origin of everything. This craving is tanha. Craving is also seen with the word as thirst. It's just thirst. It's just wanting. Okay, so that's the initial response to craving is to just want. Monks, I will teach you about 9 things rooted in craving. And what are the 9 things rooted in craving? Craving is a cause of seeking. So rooted in craving is seeking. Seeking is a cause of gaining material possessions. So we're seeking things. We're seeking all kinds of things. We're seeking a new car. We're seeking the movies. We're seeking things that taste good. We're seeking places to live. We're constantly seeking, trying to, in a sense, improve our life and have fun. But along the way, some things happen that are maybe not so fun. And as a result of the seeking, we can run into some trouble. But that comes here later. Seeking is a cause of gaining material possessions. Gaining material possessions is a cause of assessing. Assessing, what does that mean? Assessing is a cause of desire and lust. So now you're starting to compare. I have a new car and it's a Honda Civic. Yeah, but that person has a Mercedes. Oh, my car's not as good as that car. So now you're comparing who has what. Is this better than that? This is more pleasure than that. And now you're assessing the value of everything. Assessing is a cause of desire and lust. Desire and lust is a cause of attachment. Now we're taking hold of our possessions. Attachment is a cause of ownership. Ownership is a cause of stinginess. So now we have our possessions, and now we're not going to let them go. We're not going to share them. They are ours, and now that we're holding on to things. We get, a lot of people will save money, and they won't spend it, and they'll save all this money, and yet they live this life of poverty. They're stingy not only to other people, but to themselves. So stinginess can be a cause of craving. Stinginess is a cause of safeguarding. Owing to safeguarding, many bad, unskillful things come to be. So again, we're trying to protect things that we have. And the more things that we have, the more protection we have to have. Now, one thing as far as money is concerned is, people think having a lot of money is great, but actually now you have to safeguard it. Now you have to protect it. Now you have to invest it wisely so you don't lose it. And it can be, your accounts can be hacked. And now you go around worrying about all this money that you have and trying to safeguard it. As a monk, they have no money and they have no worries. So maybe better to not have any money, or at least be a monk when you don't have any money, though. So owing to safeguarding, many bad, unskillful things come to be. Taking up the rod and the sword, quarrels, arguments, fights, accusations, divisive speech, and lies. So all these things are a result of trying to hold on to things, getting into fights, accusing people of taking things, saying somebody is evil and trying to get them away from something, making lies. All these things come as a result of trying to safeguard. So these are the 9 things rooted in craving. This is the Tanha Mulaka Sutta. So now we'll start talking about some breathing and the benefits. So I was reading the sutta and I thought, well, we should talk about mindfulness of breathing. So this sutta gives the 7 benefits of mindfulness of breathing. It also tells you which realm of the 5 pure abodes that an anagami will go to if they don't become an arhat in this life. We need to know these things. Sutta Central Translation below. Monks, when mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it is very fruitful and beneficial. And how is mindfulness of breathing developed and cultivated to be very fruitful and beneficial? It's when a monk has gone to a wilderness, or to the root of a tree, or to an empty hut. They sit down cross-legged, with their body straight, and establish mindfulness right there. Just mindful, they breathe in. Mindful, they breathe out. And I'll stop right here. One thing that Venerable Punaji from Malaysia came up with was he talked about some different translations of the Pali words. Satipatthana. Sati means, of course, mindful. But his translation was different. It was mindfulness up in front of the mouth, satipatthana. Now, I'm not sure, patthana seems conditions to me, but he had another translation, which means the mindfulness that you develop is up in front of the mouth. In other words, it's not down in the body. It is in the head. You keep your mindfulness uplifted. And of course, as we know, as we get into the jhanas, it tends to rise up from the body into the head. And that's one thing that we'll try to keep aware of as we do our, our mindfulness of breathing, is we're going to keep our mind up in the head. They sit down cross-legged with their body straight and establish mindfulness right there. Just mindful, they breathe in. Mindful, they breathe out. They practice like this. I'll breathe in, observing, letting go. They practice like this. I'll breathe out, observing, letting go. That's actually the sujatas. It should be, I breathe in, tranquilizing the body. I'll breathe out, tranquilizing the body. We'll get more into that later. Mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated in this way, is very fruitful and beneficial. When mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated in this way, you can expect 7 fruits and benefits. What 7? You attain enlightenment early on in this very life. If not, you attain enlightenment at the time of death. If not, with the ending of the 5 lower fetters, and this means arhatship here, the attain enlightenment, final enlightenment. If not final enlightenment, with the ending of the 5 lower fetters, you're extinguished in between one life and the next, or you're extinguished upon landing, or you're extinguished without extra effort, or you're extinguished with extra effort, or you head upstream going to the Akanita realm. What this is talking about is you can attain Nibbana, of course, in the human life, but at the moment of death, you can attain arhatship. But from the moment of death in this life, between this life and the next life, it's called in the interim, you can attain Nibbana at that time. You can attain Nibbana with a little bit of, with no effort, with a little bit of effort, and then with a lot of effort as you die and you head upstream going to, well, okay, with an extra effort. In any case, it's this interim between both lives. You can also at that moment just let go and attain arhatship at that point. But if you don't, then you're headed to the Akanita realm. This is the pure abodes. This is the highest of the pure abodes. So when you're practicing mindfulness, you're going to end up in the highest of the 5 pure abodes. The pure abodes are where there are only arahats and anagamis, and it depends on the level of your sila, of your attainment, of your ability to go in and out of jhanas, which one of those 5 realms that you'll end up in. But eventually, while you are there, you will attain final arhatship, and it may take. And they even divide that into, as soon as you land there, or you're there a short time, a medium time, or a long time. And the pure abodes can last up to 10,000 mahakapas, which is one heck of a long time. When mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated in this way, you can expect these 7 fruits and benefits. Okay. So great benefits to mindfulness of breathing. So here's another one. Many people think, well, all of the Buddhism is the same. How do you know what you're reading is what the Buddha spoke? And there is a section in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta about that. In section 4.8, Sutta DN 16, it says in summary that if what was said matches and is consistent what is already in the text and suttas, then you can be assured the Buddha spoke it. So we'll read that. On Sutta Central, section 22 is following. Take another monk who says, in such and such monastery, there is a single senior monk who is very learned and knowledgeable in the scriptures, who has memorized the teachings, the texts on monastic training, and the outlines. I've heard and learned this in the presence of that senior monk. This is the teaching. This is the training. This is the teacher's instruction. You should neither approve nor dismiss the monk's statement. Instead, you should carefully memorize those words and phrases and then check if they're included in the discourses or found in the texts on monastic training. In other words, check your suttas, check your books. If somebody tells you that this is what the Buddha spoke, then it should match with the volumes of suttas that you already have and you know. If something doesn't match that, the Buddha may not have spoken that. You should neither approve nor dismiss that monk's statement. Instead, you should carefully memorize those words and check if they're included in the sutta text that you have from Bhikkhu Bodhi. If they're not included in the discourses or found in the text on monastic training, you should draw the conclusion. Clearly, this is not the word of the Buddha. It has been incorrectly memorized by that senior monk, and so you should reject it. If they are included in the discourses and found in the text on monastic trainings, you should draw the conclusion. Clearly, this is the word of the Buddha. It has been correctly memorized by that senior monk. You should remember it. This is the fourth great reference. These are the four great references. You should remember them. So when you hear things that people say, well, this is what the Buddha taught, go back to your database and see if that matches. Now, you can look at the Majjhima Nikaya, and there are a couple of things that don't match what the Buddha talked about. One of the things is where it says you should clench and try with great effort and put the tongue up on the roof of your mouth and strive and really try to get concentration going. Well, many other texts say, no, this is not the way. This leads to restlessness. It leads to lack of energy. For example, in the Saccaka Sutta, where the Buddha tried the concentration methods and he tried hard, but he said, this does not lead to the end of craving. This leads to more craving. And he left Alara Kalama and he left Udarama Putta and he attained the seventh and the eighth jhanas. And he said, this is not it. These are absorption jhanas. This is not the end of craving. Matter of fact, somebody at the Easter retreat said they talked to somebody who had spent 20 years doing absorption, concentration, and they gave it up. And they were just disgusted. They had spent 20 years because they didn't learn anything. Their personality was unchanged. Yes, they could have these states of bliss, but it didn't change anything. Their mind wandered just as before when they came out of these states. 20 years. So Majjhima Nikaya, there is the striving section, but also Sutta 24, it talks about purification of view, purification of insight. These are Vipassana ideas from the Mahasi style Vipassana, the 16 levels of insight. And we believe that if you read that sutta, you'll go, this doesn't sound like what the Buddha taught. It somehow has been put in here. And so that's one sutta that purification of view, purification of knowledge. These are ideas from the 16 knowledges, the jhanas that are talked about in the Vipassana school. And the Buddha did not talk about any of those things in the suttas. So you have to question this. Is this what the Buddha taught? And I went through all of those things, and we had all the suttas on our shelves, uh, but nobody really read them. They just figured, oh yeah, of course, what we're doing must be right because this is what we're being told. I started to read them and went, wait a minute, these are talking about jhanas, and we're not doing any jhanas. And they said, oh no, it's much faster what we're doing, insight knowledge, insight meditation. So I just assumed that was the case, but later on I found out, or Bhante figured out, no, it is jhanas, and it's not concentration jhanas. It is TWIM, aware jhanas. All right, totally different subject. Two persons who cannot easily be repaid. I tell you, monks, there are two people who are not easy to repay. Which two? Your mother and father. Oh, by the way, I think today is today Mother's Day? I believe so. Um, your mother and father, even if you were, is that right? Yeah. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers. Even if you were to carry your mother on one shoulder and your father on the other shoulder for 100 years, and were to look after them by anointing, massaging, bathing, and rubbing their limbs. Now, this isn't included, this next part of the sentence here. People leave this out, but this is actually what was in the sutta. And they were to defecate and urinate right there on your shoulders. You would not in that way pay or repay your parents. If you were to establish your mother and father in absolute sovereignty over this great earth, abounding in the seven treasures, you would not in that way pay or repay your parents. Why is that? Mother and father do much for their children. They care for them. They nourish them. They introduce them to this world. But anyone who rouses his unbelieving mother and father, settles and establishes them in conviction, rouses his unvirtuous mother and father, settles and establishes them in virtue, rouses his stingy mother and father, settles and establishes them in generosity, rouses his mother and father, settles and establishes them in the Dhamma, discernment. To this extent, one pays and repays mother and father. So the way the real Mother's Day gift, the Father's Day gift, is to help them understand the Dhamma, help them understand, make an attempt to convey the precepts, make an attempt to convey, to give, to let go of possessions, to give to other people, to give to themselves, to be less stingy, uh, to be virtue, stinginess, generosity, and then, of course, to very carefully talk to them about the Dhamma, talk to them about what you're doing. For years, I didn't say anything to my parents, and then gradually, Bhante, actually, I was living in Seattle, and Bhante came there, and I took my mother to a talk, and she went, okay, okay, yeah, interesting. I'm not sure she really understood any of it, but she went, and so I got my mother there, and I got my brother practicing with Bhante. He's done many retreats. I got my college roommate to do retreats. He's coming for another retreat here this year. Um, I got Jordan, who's now he was a Vipassana guy. I talked to him many times about this. We even talked about this on the Easter retreat. I said, Jordan, you have to check out what Bhante is teaching. In other words, what our old friend Bhante was teaching, because we knew Bhante from being in Vipassana. And so he tried it. He got excited, and now he's, all the Easter retreats. He's doing all of those. Is making that happen. Um, and I talked to other people and friends that I knew, and I didn't proselytize it, but I just told them what I was experiencing. I said, "This is my experience. Maybe you should try it. Um, don't take my word for it, and don't make it as a should, but just I tried this, but here's the benefit of doing this. Um, just be careful. Don't proselytize it. Just tell them what benefits that you've gotten. And if people ask you more about it, then tell them more about it. If they don't and they look away, okay, just let it go. And another thing is not to be a Buddhist, but be a Buddha, and to show them by your actions how the benefits of this really come to play here. So mother and father, very important. There's almost nothing you can do except teaching them the Dhamma and establish them in Sila. Speaking of wealth and power, even the Buddha said that wealth and power corrupts. At Savatthi, as he was sitting to one side, King Pasenadi, Kosala, said to the Blessed One, "Just now, Lord, while I was alone in seclusion, this train of thought arose in my awareness. Few are those people in the world who, when acquiring lavish wealth, don't become intoxicated and heedless, don't become greedy for sensual pleasures, and don't mistreat other beings. Many more are those who, when acquiring lavish wealth, become intoxicated and heedless, become greedy for sensual pleasures, and mistreat other beings." So even here, it indicates that when you come into a lot of wealth and a lot of power, it's very easy to misuse it. And I think Warren Buffett was, he was one of the greatest examples, and he actually declared yesterday that he was retiring. I think he's like 94, 95, and he's retiring from his fund, but he still lives in the same house that he grew up in, or he lives in his same house that he lived in for years. He drives a reasonable car. He doesn't, the wealth doesn't, he doesn't want to do any of that. He has not been intoxicated by all those things. He just lives his normal life, and he really sees that as a great virtue. And it served him well. I mean, he's worth billions of dollars. So, but then also he has assigned all of that wealth upon his death to be given to charity. So he accumulated it, he gives it away, lets it go, and continues with his life. All right, let's see. Yeah, I guess we don't really need to say much more about this. We can say that, I saw this show where somebody had come into wealth, and now they're going to nightclubs, and they're spending all this money, and pretty soon they go in and they expect to be treated perfectly because they have all this money, so they expect perfect service. And when somebody doesn't give it to them, they lash out. They mistreat other beings. They expect, their food to be done just right, and if it's not, then they get upset. And they're not. They expect way too much, and are not humble, and don't realize that everybody makes mistakes, and even they did make mistakes before they got all this wealth. So you have to be careful. You have to follow your precepts. You have to be aware of how you're acting. That's for all the lottery winners out there. So another benefit of metta, or loving kindness practice, is one does not die in an accident. This is one of them. And he who maintains genuine friendship and is not treacherous, should he fall from a precipice or a mountain or a tree, he will be protected, will not be harmed. In other words, you will not die in an accident. And that means if you get in a car wreck, maybe your bumper gets bent, you might get a little whiplash, but you're not going to die. You're going to live out your full time. And each being, as I can see here, has a certain amount of time that they're here for. And that amount of time is going to be lived out. And there, Bhante told a story about um, a man who tried to play a trick on somebody. And so he went to his neighbor, we'll say he went to his neighbor, and he told his neighbor that his neighbor's son was at a cliff and he was playing and he accidentally fell off the cliff. Well, that man was a Buddhist and he knew the Dhamma. And he said, no, he did not. He did not die. And this man kept saying, no, 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 he's dead. He fell off that cliff. I'm really sorry about that, but yeah, he's dead. And that man said, nope, you cannot die from an accident if you're following precepts and the moral code. And it turned out, no, this was just a lie. It was a story actually to get him upset, and it didn't work. And so that story is the story's in the suttas or in the Jataka tales somewhere. So it's always good to know that we're not going to die from an accident. A great book of protection. Stream entry. Everybody loves to hear about stream entry. This is from the Sottapati Samyutta. So what is the real definition of stream in stream entry? It's the Eightfold Path. See, everybody thinks it's you enter the stream. They don't know which stream it is that you're entering. Sariputta, this is said, the stream, the stream. What now, Sariputta, is the stream? This noble eightfold path, Venerable Sir, it is the stream. That is right view, right thought, right speech, etc. So the stream in stream entry is that you enter the stream, you now have no doubt in the teachings, and you have right view, and you have entered the real stream of right view, right intention, right action, right effort, right collectedness, right mindfulness, and so on. And you know that that's the path, and that path will take you on all the way to arhatship. That is the real definition from the suttas of stream entry. There are other definitions that you enter the stream of the four levels of Nibbana, of the Sotapanna, Sakdagami, Anagami, and Arahat, and that's valid too. But from the suttas, this is the actual definition here. So then we get into defining what kind of Sotapannas are there. I think some of you have already heard some of these things from Delson, but you can get very much into the weeds with this stuff. But basically, there's two kinds of stream enterers. There is the faith follower and the Dhamma follower. They are a Sotapanna path in two ways. So the definition of a stream enterer or the faith follower is one who has conviction and belief that these phenomena are this way is called a faith follower. One who has entered the orderliness of rightness, entered the plane of people of integrity, transcended the plane of the run-of-the-mill. He is incapable of doing any deed by which he might be reborn in hell, in the animal womb, or in the realm of the hungry ghosts. He is incapable of passing away until he has realized the fruit of stream entry. Now, the last part of this means that you can get the path knowledge, that first experience of Nibbana, and you can attain the fruition shortly thereafter if you continue to meditate. But if you don't meditate and you don't attain the fruition, you will realize the fruit of stream entry upon your death. And that's in the Samyutta Nikaya, a couple different places. So you have that locks in stream entry, and that changes the personality. the path, I would say, probably changes it 3/4 of the way, and then the fruition gives it a little extra seal to it. Um, but the way that the Sotapanna gains stream entry is, first of all, by faith. Now, that means you don't question the teachings. You understand what is being taught, and you take it on faith and you give it a good shot. You're not skeptical. You just do it. And we had a guy at the Easter retreat who came along with somebody else, and the guy that he came along with said, "Hey, I think you should do a retreat." And the guy says, "I don't know anything about meditation." And the guy told him, "I think you're in a place where you need a retreat. I think you're seeking something." And so he came on retreat, didn't know anything about it. He didn't. He just took it on faith. He just did the practice, and on the second day, the metta, loving kindness, is moving up to his head. He says, all I have is a head, and I just feel so amazing. And the third day, he had success. And then he kept having more success the whole retreat. He didn't question anything. He didn't say, "Are you sure about that? Are you sure?" He just did the practice. So that's having the conviction and belief. Now, for the rest of us, the Dhamma follower, one who, after pondering with a modicum of discernment, has accepted that these phenomena are this way, is called Dhamma follower. One who has entered the orderliness of rightness, entering the plane of people of integrity, transcended the plane of the run-of-the-mill. I'm not sure that this translation is it's very good, but I think you get the idea. He is incapable of doing any deed by which he might be reborn in hell, in the animal womb, or in the realm of hungry ghosts, actually. He's incapable of passing away until he has realized the fruit of stream entry. One who knows and sees that these phenomena are this way is called stream enterer, steadfast, never again destined for states of woe, headed for self-awakening. So this is a stream enterer who has a lot of skepticism. He tries to figure it out. I think a lot of people they will become Dhamma followers. They are skeptical. They say, "Yeah, but I was practicing over in this practice and I did it like this. Are you sure about this?" And the only way that you can get these people to really get convinced is they have to do the practice. They have to figure it out and see that it works. And so this is the Dhamma follower. I think takes a little while longer for them to get it because they're questioning everything. They question the 6 R's. They question, "Oh, loving kindness, that's just for people who want to be happy, and that just sounds so silly. I don't know about this." And well, they don't. But then they finally try it and they get it, and then they attain stream entry. So that is all I have got here. Hopefully everybody got some interesting tidbits out of there. I have a heck of a lot of chats here. All right, we're going to start our meditation, and I'm going to get the Satipatthana Sutta here so that we know what we're doing here. Now, everybody get comfortable and get into your meditation position. And let's sit and relax. And you can also add a little bit of a smile. This is a little addition to the practice. But mindfulness of breathing, we have instructions for this on our site on the support documents. So mindfulness of breathing is not about concentrating on a sensation of the breath. Mindfulness of breathing is concentrating on the idea, the fact that you are breathing. You know that you are breathing. It's basically, you know that you're in the present moment and breath is happening. And when you're not in the present moment and your mind is wandering, you know now to 6R, to do the 6R process. But you don't pull your mind back and concentrate on sensation of the breath. So let's go to the suttas. And how, bhikkhus, does a bhikkhu abide contemplating the body as a body? Here a bhikkhu gone to the forest or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, set his body erect, and established mindfulness in front of him. Ever mindful, he breathes in. Mindful, he breathes out. Breathing in long, he understands, I breathe in long. Or breathing out long, he understands, I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands, I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands, I breathe out short. He trains thus, I shall breathe in, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. So, you are experiencing everything. You are experiencing what is happening in your body. You're experiencing your breath. You don't make a long breath to concentrate on a long breath. You don't make a short breath. You don't create anything. You just know what is actually happening. This is the point of saying long breath, short breath. The Buddha is just saying, hey, there's all these different kinds of breath. It's subtle, it's sharp, it's long, it's deep, it's all these things. But it's just the breath. Just know that you're in the present with the breath. Well, what happens when you leave the present? Then he says, he trains thus, I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. What's that? You relax the body. You relax tension and tightness. You start your 6R process. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. Now, another way you can use this is that when you breathe in, you relax. When you breathe out, you relax. So there's relaxing going on even with each breath. You breathe out when you relax, you breathe in, you relax. And when your mind wanders, you recognize, you release, you relax, you re-smile, and you come back to knowing that you're breathing. Okay? He trains us, I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. If you notice tension and tightness in your body, relax. Tranquilize. Tranquilize is like a tranquilizer gun. It's not just relax. It's actually doing something. That's the difference here. People say, well, of course I relax. The sutta just says relax. No, it's actually taking some action to relax, to do it on purpose. When you shoot a tranquilizer dart at a mad elephant, you're doing something to relax that mad elephant. So you're tranquilizing any tension and tightness. Okay. Just as a skilled lath operator or his apprentice, when making a long turn, understands I make a long turn, or when making a short turn, understands I make a short turn, so too, breathing in long, a bhikkhu understands I breathe in long. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. Now, the rest of the sutta goes on into other things, but this is the real guts of the sutta, is simply sitting and knowing that you're breathing. So let's do that. Closing our eyes. Noticing our body, the bodily formations, letting our mind come into the present moment, just being here now. Notice some thoughts are jumping in. Tensions, tightnesses are in the body. The breath is somewhat constricted because it's not tranquilized yet. It's not calm. But you don't want to go to your breath. Give it a few minutes. Just let everything come into the present and just be here. And gradually you notice that the breath is somewhat constricted at first. Don't do anything about that. Just let it be constricted. People think, I need to breathe. I need to make something happen. No, you don't. You'll breathe. It's all automatic. You have to breathe. And it doesn't matter if you breathe short, long, but know that you're breathing. Where do you watch the breath? The classic practices that are taught elsewhere have you seeing it at the nose tip. Buddha never said anything about the nose tip. He only said, watch the breath. Not where it is, but the fact that it's happening. Now, many people here have done breath concentration. And that means you find a particular place, like your nose tip or your belly, you watch the sensations there, and you lock on to that breath. That's not observation. That is locking yourself onto something and trying to stay with it, striving, putting the tongue up on the roof of your mouth and pressing down and pushing. No, there's no trying whatsoever with this. It is just directing your mind to observing the breath as it breathes in and out. Now the breath may be becoming more obvious. You're starting to see it. It's okay if you would like to put your attention where the breath is the most obvious. For me, I did Vipassana for many years. That's down on the belly. But Satipatthana means up, mindfulness up in front of the mouth. That means I don't let my awareness go down and sink in to the belly and concentrate on it. I let my awareness be up in my head. And I know that I'm breathing from there. If you start to focus on some sensation of the breath, don't do that. Just know you're breathing. At times, your breath will become so subtle that you won't even know that there's breath there. But you still know that you're breathing because you know what's going on. The breath will come and go. It'll fade in and out. It's a very hard object. Keep your mind on. Why? Because it's a dry object. It has nothing like metta or the feeling. At first, people say, oh, the breath is so easy because it's a real thing. Well, what can happen is, yes, that's true, but what happens is the mind gets bored. It says it's a real thing, but now I'm bored. So what do? We relax on the in-breath. Relax on the out-breath. Whatever is happening for you, you breathe in, relax. Breathing out, relax. Breathing in, relax your whole body. Relaxing the whole body. Knowing that you're breathing. You just know that it's a short or a long breath. You don't have to make some mental determination about it. You simply know you're breathing. Relaxing on the in-breath. Relaxing on the out-breath. Breath can be short or it can be long. It can be constricted. If it's constricted and tight, we just know that our breath is tight in the way it is. We just know still it's just the breath. Now, why do you relax on the in and the out? Because the breath is sneaky. When you take a breath in, it's a real object. There's movement happening. There's action happening. The formation is coming up. But when the breath comes in, there's a gap. Now, during that gap, the mind, he just runs away. He or she runs away and thinks about things like, am I doing this right? What am I doing this? Why am I doing this? What's going to happen after the session? So between every breath, the mind has an opportunity to escape. Relax. After a while, you won't need to consciously relax. You just watch the breath happening. And if your mind wanders away, 6 hours. Don't run back to the breath. Stay with the hindrance, whatever's arisen, whatever thought is there. Release it, relax. Don't go back to the breath. Let it appear to you. Oh, there's the breath again. Knowing breath is there, just like when you're driving a car, you know that you're driving. You're not watching the yellow line. You're not noticing how you're sitting. You're not noticing your hand on the steering wheel. It's all part of being aware that you're driving. Can you let that awareness go? No, you'll end up in a ditch. So this is about the level of awareness that you need. You just simply know that you're breathing. But don't let it go or you'll end up in a ditch. You'll have to 6R your way out. So there's a little bit of effort there. But if you feel like you're making too much effort, just relax. Don't do anything. Let the breath come back. If you're unsure, just relax. The breath will appear again. Relaxing, relaxing. You can use a smile for this. Smile will help. It keeps you uplifted. Don't run back to the breath. Just let the breath appear again. And then put a little bit of effort sticking with it. Not too much. After there's some sort of level of collectedness, just observe it. Now it says in the suttas that as you maintain collectedness on an object, gladness arises. That means you're happy with staying on the breath. Letting your mind just rest on the breath. You don't need to do anything else. Just breathe. Being content. Letting your mind rest. No need to go out and look at the five senses. Just let them go. Breathing in and breathing out. When he breathes in, he feels happiness. When he breathes out, he observes happiness. He knows that he is happy. He knows whatever emotion is there. But he lets it go and comes back to the breath. If the mind wanders, just let it wander, but watch it. As soon as you watch the mind wandering, it runs out of fuel. Just by observing, you're taking away the nutriment. By the craving that's going on, you are observing it, and that just puts a stop to its streaming on. And just watch the end of it. relax it. Don't pull yourself back. Just notice the breath when it comes. Let the mind sit on the breath. There's nowhere else to be. If the mind gets a little bit mixed up, a little confused, just relax. Don't do anything. When I first tried this, I got all mixed up. I kept trying something, trying that, trying this, and then I realized I just need to stop trying anything at all. Just come in the present and let the breath be whatever it's going to be. Doesn't matter. Long, short. You can't stop breathing. So it's always there. Keeping the mind up towards the head, not burying itself down in the stomach or into the torso or in the nose or in the chest. Simply backing away and being aware. Whenever the mind just starts to think about something, there's just a moment where there's some movement. This craving is starting to arise. It's vibrating. There's a little bit of wanting. Just relax right then. It's the mind trying to do something. It's always trying to get something, go somewhere, seeking something. Don't seek. Just be here. There will be longer and longer gaps between your breath. Be careful to relax. Just relax during those gaps. The movements of the abdomen will become more subtle. Sometimes you won't even notice them. But eventually they come back. Just relax. Let things be. You can even say that you know when there is a gap. You are aware of the gap. You know that there is a gap happening. Mindfulness is always knowing what is happening. He knows when he walks. He knows when he sits. He knows when he eats. He knows what he's feeling. He knows this. He knows that. It's all just knowing what's happening. And he knows when his mind wanders. 6 hours are nothing more than just knowing the mind has wandered, accepting it, being okay, and giving a little bit of relaxation. As he is aware of the breath and the quiet space between, he knows other things arise. Hearing arises. Body consciousness arises. And again, he knows when body consciousness arises. And he knows the mind switching to hearing. He simply knows what is happening, looks on with equanimity, lets it all pass through without being involved. He also knows that these things come uncalled for. They arise not because you ask them to arise, they simply arise based on conditions that you have absolutely no control over what's going to happen next, what's going to arise next in your mind. But when you understand that, that is the understanding of dependent origination, that everything only arises from conditions and that there is nobody there involved. So you stop trying to control things. Just let everything be and be aware. And there's a great relief. Now you know that you don't make everything happen. It just happens. All you have to do is watch it, arising and passing away. Now the breath is very shallow. Just be with it. Now, as you do the breath meditation, all of the same jhanas will occur. Your sense of self will go up into the head. You'll experience the expansion, the infinite consciousness, and the equanimity of the state of nothingness. But you won't have the experience of loving kindness or the Brahma Viharas so much. It'll just be a dry state of jhana, with joy, with contentment, with equanimity. And what will happen is get to the state of nothingness, and then that just disappears into a state of neither perception. And then you observe. At that point, the breath is really not there. You can come back to it, but it will be very much in the background. And you will be in the quiet mind. And at that point, you don't do anything at all, and you just observe whatever arises and let it go. And become more and more quiet. And essentially, you arrive at the same place you did with the Brahma Viharas. All goes to the same place, to the quiet mind. So you can continue on your own. I do a guided meditation on Insight Timer on breath, and it's on YouTube. And there are instructions for breath on our support page. If you want to learn more about it or just do it, don't add loving kindness into it other than a loving attitude. Don't mix it up with loving kindness. Keep it separate when you do it. Keep it separate from loving kindness meditation. Just get a little bit confusing. But both are valid and both lead to the jhanas and to awakening.